And this was the first time this really sat with me. And he was like, life is happening for you, not to you. And I'd heard that, always heard that. And I was like, oh, I get it now. What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with
Mm.
the trauma, the abuse, the pain, the suffering, the hurt, the guilt, the shame, everything that comes along with growing up in the way that I grew up? And ultimately it was like, yeah, what am I going to do with this? Now there were a lot of moments like leading up to that where I'd actually started the work and been doing some other things. And that wasn't like the singular moment, right? I won't pin it to that. But what I am saying is that in this experience, there are those things that we can choose to hold on to better our life, or to use as a reason and excuse, which is entirely valid. So let's be clear about that, to destroy our life. And
Mm.
after I got done destroying my life, I decided to better it.
At what part in life? And by the way, thanks for sharing, man. Going right to it. So, at what part in life are you suggesting to some of your tribe, the trauma warriors, that they can make the transition? Is it an age? Is it once they enter a relationship? Is it is it a certain chapter of life? Is it whenever they make the decision? Like, is there a point in time that people that you're suggesting these people to hit a breaking point, and then that's the only way for you to kind of move to the other side, or can they impose this own deadline on themselves? Like, what do you suggest for some of your following there?
I would hope that now, with what we've done in creating thousands of hours of content, more courses than I can count, the books, me being a guest and teaching this stuff, that we could mitigate the possibility of the rock bottom. But
Mm.
Mike, dude, you know this as well as I do. Change only happens when you make change happen, man. And my hope is that we can give people the tools to circumvent that, but ultimately, and I see it all the time, and I've worked with some of the greatest minds in trauma on planet Earth, from Pete Walker to Dr. Gabor Mate, Caroline Leaf, Anna Lamke. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. All these people I've talked with, interviewed, and everybody's kind of like, the rock bottom's kind of gonna happen, right? Because that's that place of when you're like, okay, now I actually need to do something with my life.
Mm.
And I don't think it's about an age, dude. I've coached people as young as 18 years old, to, I think my oldest client ever, she was a 66-year-old over the road truck driver,
Hmm.
right? I've coached corporate executives. I've coached just, people in their day-to-day lives who just do mom and pop things, whatever. It's, here's what's fascinating. When I got deep into this at the beginning, like, my intention was not anything that I've created today, right? My intention was very simple. I was like, oh, I'm going to get my own shit together. That's it. I'm going to get my shit together. I'm going to stop getting in my own way. I'm going to stop destroying my life, relationships, finances, health. I mean, at 26, dude, I was 350 pounds. I was smoking
Mm.
2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep. And the thing that I came to realize is like, oh, wait, this is my doing. This is
Mm.
my fault. That's not being culpable for the bad things that happen to us, right? I don't want people to take it that way. It's not your fault if you had abusive parents. It's not your fault if you suffered massive trauma. But at some point, you do have to look in the mirror and be like, wait a second, what actions am I taking in my life that have led me to this place? Because there is some space where this is on you, right? That's a really hard pill for people to swallow. And so you can't really look at it from age or relationship or status or any of that. It's when you come to terms with the truth. You look in
Mm.
the mirror, you do what I did when I was 25 heading into 26. You go, what am I willing to do to have the life that I want to have? Right. And if you are willing to sit in that, that's where your life changes.
Mm. And in this chapter of life at 25, 26, is this that homeless period that we alluded to in the bio, or is this around the similar time, or?
No, so little context and backstory. So growing up, I grew up in Indiana. My mom was a drug addict and alcoholic. In fact, when I was only 4 years old, she actually cut off my right index finger. Right, and
Mm.
so hurt people hurt people. I always want to context that she suffered a massive amount of trauma and abuse. So did her mother and her mother before her. That's this generational thing. She married my stepfather when I was 6, and he was massively abusive, dude. So, Mike, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4", 220 pounds. I'm a freaking linebacker, right? So imagine a guy my size beating up a 7-year-old, right? And so they were hyper volatile, into drugs, into alcohol. And we live with over 30 different families between the time I was 8 to 12 years old. So,
Mm.
I mean, that period of time we were getting bounced around, living in strangers' houses, vans, churches, my grandma's house, my aunt's house, my sister's house. Like, it was crazy all over the place, and really never having a stable home. And then when I was 12, my grandmother actually adopted me, right? And you think that'd be a godsend. And to some extent, it was. But I'm biracial, black and white, and she was an old racist white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of, right?
Mm.
So insert identity crisis. And that was kind of childhood, right? And all those things, they let up, and puts me in this position where at 26, now I'm in this rock bottom, right? That's where I just hit the wall the thousandth time. Another destroyed relationship. My health is incredibly poor. I'm working at a Fortune 10 company, which is like seemingly impossible for someone from where I'm from. No high school diploma, no college education. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm making six figures, and I'm 50 grand in debt, right?
Mm.
Like, it was chaos. And so that transition period, what happened is, I was just done. I was just tired of myself. And I knew that somewhere in there had to be more, because as a little kid, I promised myself there would be more, right? And so many of us as children, we make these promises. We say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this life. I'm going to chase this dream. I'm going to create this thing. And then what happens is life. And then we see the impact. And then we see all the people telling us what we can or can't do. And we suffer so much before we don't. And
Mm.
that's kind of what happened in that window.